What up, world? Uh, General Manager Daryl Morey of the Houston Rockets is on set here for First Things First of FS1 on the Sports Channel, and the NBA is considering restarting the NBA season. There's a lot of scenarios. As of right now, they do have all 22 teams going to resume into Orlando. The players do actually have until June 22nd through 24th. The 24th is the final date to where they can make a decision to let the NBA office as well as teams know if they're going to be participating in Orlando with the regular season or not. Whenever it comes to Daryl Morey, we've seen him as being a genius, quote unquote, for his side of bringing in stars and being ahead of the game with analytics and knowing how to win. Uh, he did bring in Dwight Howard back into 2014, 2013 area. Then after that, you brought in Chris Paul, executed on a trade with James Harden. Now trading for a Russell Westbrook. He does believe in analytics. It hasn't worked the way as he would like. I do credit James Harden and the Houston Rockets back into 2018, where they finished off with a 66-16 record. Within the regular season, they were 3-2 against the Golden State Warriors in the conference finals. Chris Paul was hurt. Very controversial there. They did lose in Game 7. Even though in Game 6 and Game 7, they were up at points around 13, 14 points. But then the Warriors came back. But Daryl Morey, we've seen a couple of months ago as well, with the whole China escalation about his comments. The NBA, pretty much the world economically, pretty much backlashed onto Daryl Morey. I'll give him credit. He pretty much knows what he's talking about. I think he's over in his head a couple of times whenever it comes to analytics and how he sets up the team, especially for this season, which is a mess. But
discussion around the league the last couple of days has been whether or not a restart is the right idea at this time, right now. What sense have you gotten as to where your players stand on that and that time frame?
Obviously, we're going through a very important time to enact change, and so I understand all the players' perspectives. Coach D'Antoni and I have spoken to the players. We recently had several Zoom calls. I think each player needs to figure out how to make the biggest impact on the very important things that are happening in the country. I think Austin Rivers said what he said, and that he felt the players, the resources and having the world tuned into them and being able to make statements from the restart in his mind was the right way to go. But I think each player needs to think about what's best for them, and we hopefully that involves basketball.
Listen, there's been a bunch of players like Dwight Howard, Kyle Kuzma, Avery Bradley. Funny, all of them are from the Los Angeles Lakers. And as well as the vice president of the National Basketball Players Association, Vice President Kyrie Irving. All of them together have pretty much raised their attention of the social injustice that's been going on within the country when it comes to racism. And then Kyrie Irving goes a little more deep with his wokey woke third eye, logical stance. And we've seen him with time to time. He just kind of builds on with this type of train and is flowing. Kyrie Irving is an introvert. He likes to stay to himself. He likes to, evaluate things. He does have, a different process mindset. That's a different subject for another day. We can go a little more deeper into it. But whenever it comes to these players expressing playing in the NBA or not, they're looking to actually put it on pause. Kyrie was actually entertaining the idea of a players' league. Kyrie can go a little over and out within there. No, but Adam Silver and the crew, and the board of directors, they're actually handling this the way I actually saw it to be. This was, they actually have a timeline in place, precautions when it comes to COVID. Everything was great until there, and then we did see the death of George Floyd. So now you have Kyrie Irving, a bunch of these players, they've been protesting, which they have the right to, enforce their voice upon this social injustice. But now it comes to a point to where the NBA may even consider not even continuing the season or players even on board. We have to evaluate. June 24th is the deadline to where we can see how many players are actually declining to go into Orlando to play in the regular season playoffs, as well as he will be staying on board. So something to keep an eye out of how Kyrie Irving and some of these players actually, they can talk the talk, but let's actually see, what they can actually do besides that.
Organizationally, I know we've always been talking about the NBA restart, and it feels like a continuation of the season. Is that how the Rockets are looking at this, as a continuation of a season, or more of something fresh and new?
Listen, this is social injustice. This is something that's been going on. Looking at it big picture wise, they're not going to stop and cancel the regular season because of this. This is something to where there was even a fact to where if all the players would sit out, the NBA would lose over they wouldn't be able to pay off $1 billion worth of salaries, revenue, and all that. The NBA knows what it's doing. When it comes to these owners, they're going to force their players to play. It comes to money when it comes to pretty much a majority of this, which is a separate topic, dispersing away from the social injustice. Listen, a lot of these cats, they're raising their voice, which is, it's fine to do. You have the right. They're very, it means a lot to them in their community. But we have not seen any solutions in place when it comes to protesting and then looting. When riots, that's been escalating. We've seen this for the past 12 to 13 days. We've seen LeBron James and Derrick Rose and the crew. They'll wear shirts of awareness. Listen, the awareness has pretty much been there. This is something to where the cats need to go out, and they have to go out to the upper forces, and they need to actually express a solution when it comes to training, when it comes to being a police officer, as well as the regulations, the rules, anything that needs to be admitted within the laws, as well as the training forces and the programming, more stricter within that. That's something to where I haven't heard any resolutions and solutions as of yet. I don't expect that to take place. Usually when it comes to social injustice, when it comes in the NBA, these players, they'll express how they feel, but usually it just stops at there. There's ever no solution when it comes to it. But I expect the NBA to finish off with this regular season. There may be a couple cats that may sit out, maybe even Kyrie Irving. Kyrie's not even going to make the playoffs anyway, so it doesn't even matter. But we have to see in a couple of weeks or so.
It's a continuation. Obviously, we start with a good record, as Jenna nicely mentioned. But it is basically a second training camp. Our team had the most changes of pretty much of any playoff team with the trade at the deadline to get Covington. And so we're really looking forward to basically a second training camp, getting our defense tighter. That's the area we need to improve. All else equal. The teams, but I do think a restart, favors us in a bunch of ways. We have the most veteran team in the league. A second training camp, like I mentioned, will help us.
If the postseason were to continue as expected, what does this mean for James Harden's legacy? Listen, James Harden already peaked out of his career accomplishments as well as individual accomplishments in 2018. The writing was on the wall. He went to Game 7 of the conference finals, won a regular season MVP, led his team to 66-16, and one of the favorites with the Warriors to win the championship. It comes to the Warriors, they've been hurt. They're going to come back. You have the Lakers and Clippers who finally arose. The Rockets were just at the just wrong place, bad time. They had the team to take out the Warriors. James Harden and the crew did not make that happen. As we've seen now, the Rockets are probably going to lose in the first round. If they do keep the 6th seed, if they actually push up to a 4th seed, then that'll be a different story. But they're most likely losing the first or second round. You have PJ Tucker starting at the 5. This team is not meant for success. And it's all over the place whenever you remove Chris Paul, who's a veteran point guard. Not necessarily knows how to win, but he can keep everyone online in check, versus a wild personality like Russell Westbrook off the court as well as on the court, wild whenever it comes to his inconsistency and low IQ. The Rockets, they're going to have to really look hard and retool. You're going to have to keep Russell Westbrook, which they're going to do. So now you have 2 combo guards who are staying together. So that means they need to look for a true third option, which they never really had. Maybe look for LaMarcus Aldridge, a veteran such as that. maybe fill-in players like a Serge Ibaka. But I don't expect the Rockets and James Harden. He can never, I don't think he would ever have the other opportunity as well as will lead a team to a championship, being the number one option.
Help us, I think,
His peak was in 2018.
More than most teams. And then, I think everyone on the Rockets, myself, Coach D'Antoni, James, Russell, Eric Gore, all the way down the roster, we've all gotten to that stage in our career where there's really one thing left, and we're all focused on it.
So you made a comment last week, Daryl, that you feel like you've let James Harden down by not finding the right players to help him win a title, and then the comment took off and everyone.
Listen, like I said before, Daryl Morey put a great team together back into 2017 was a great season, even though they lost in the second round. But that was actually the start of their greatness. People can debate 2015 whenever they went to the conference finals. That was a different team of makeup. You had Kevin McHale as the coach. You had Dwight Howard on the team. You had Ashik who was on the team. James Harden played a very different brand of basketball. Now he's more isolated, ball in his hands 90% of the time. And with Mike D'Antoni, very different. So we saw that with 2017. 2018 was whenever they hit their peak. 2019, I would probably say they were a step or two below from 2018 because they did lose Trevor Ariza, which was huge for that team. But whenever it comes to the future, Daryl Morey's done a great job putting a team around James Harden. Now James Harden's around 30 years of age. We won't really see him in the MVP conversation anymore. He was always 1 or 2 from 2015 through 2019. Now in 2020, he's probably around number 4, number 5 in the MVP race. They are the 6th seed, so he has to adjust with Russell Westbrook. But whenever it comes to him and his decision-making of adding players for the season was terrible, atrocious. I like the Tyson Chandler signing, but you got to look at what Mike D'Antoni will play or not. Mike D'Antoni, they pretty much ran with P.J. Tucker at the 5, trade away Clint Capella. You have a bunch of 3-and-D players surrounding James Harden as well as Russ, but you can't dismiss your 5s on the team. The only 5 they have is Tyson Chandler and then I think Isaac Harden, one of the young cats. He's like 20 years old, but they never play and barely play Tyson Chandler.
We started talking about
so no,
it,
that's
picked
on
up
Daryl Morey.
steam. So now heading into the restart, there are a number of options for different restarts. The one that's currently planned on right now, the amount of rest your whole team has, and the amount of people that you have surrounding, the type of players you have surrounding James Harden. Are you confident this is the best team surrounding him as you get ready to restart this season?
Well, we love the team. I do think, the 65-win team is actually one of the best teams not to win. Obviously, we didn't win it. That was a very good team. This team, I think, has every good a chance as that team. And, the best way to win a title is to have a great team and be in it every year.
He already knows that this team's a wash for when it comes to this season and their future. He even admitted it with the 2018 team. That was the best chance they had at a championship. 2019 was still up in the area because KD got hurt, and the Rockets were still looking for revenge. I was very surprised that they dropped those last 2 games against the Warriors. But that's how it goes. So, I'm going to stop the clip over here. That's pretty much how consistent it's going to be. Overall, the Rockets peak when it comes to James Harden. He's not going to make close to a conference finals, deep in the playoffs. He could probably get a conference finals, but I don't foresee it with the Clippers, Lakers, as well as the Warriors. And James Harden, I don't expect him to ever reach the NBA finals. He already had his 2 shots in 2018 and 2019. Besides from that, that's how it is with the Houston Rockets. Let's see how they retool in this offseason.